In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to build a team of AI agents without writing a single line of code. We'll be using DeepSeek as the brain for our Supervisor Agent. 2025 will be the year of AI agents, so this is your chance to stay ahead of the curve. By the end of this tutorial, you will have a fully functional team of AI agents that you can integrate into platforms like Telegram, WhatsApp, or Slack. We will build our AI agents using the n8n platform, which has been exploding in popularity recently, and if you are new to n8n, don't worry, I will guide you through step by step. I'm Damien, I'm an AI and software engineer with over 10 years of programming experience and degree in software engineering and AI, but on this channel, I will teach you how to build powerful AI agents and automations using no-code and low-code tools. I've been running my AI automation agency for about 2 years now. I've had a lot of requests to start a private community, so if you are interested, just fill out the form in the description, check all the links, and let's get started. Let's do a quick demo and see what this team of AI agents can do for you. Let me show you how this works. So we'll communicate just with our supervisor agent via Telegram, because it acts as the coordinator and delegates the tasks to 3 specialized sub-agents. So the research agent, email agent, and calendar agent. You can use both voice or text. You can give your agent multiple tasks at once. So I prepared a prompt, so I'm just gonna copy and paste it. So let's test it and ask to check what's on my schedule today, etc. So I'm gonna click test workflow, send this message. So I wanted to check what's on my schedule today, send an email to Mark Johnson to cancel our meeting and let him know I will contact him later to reschedule, and give me news about DeepSeek from today. So our supervisor agent calls the calendar and research agents to fulfill these tasks. The calendar agent fetches the details from my Google Calendar and sends them back to the main agent to create a response for me, and the research agent scrapes the internet to find the newest articles about DeepSeek. It takes a moment. So now we got a response. Here is a summary of your requests. So today's schedule, projects, meeting with client, brainstorming with Mark, and Gmapper body. So now let's check my calendar. And this is correct. So now let's check my inbox. And yes, we got an email about the meeting cancellation. Hi Mark, I hope this message finds you well, etc. Now our agent also found the latest news about DeepSeek. So let's have a look. So recent news about DeepSeek. And we can see all the headlines here along with links to the original articles. So let's check one of them. OpenAI investigates DeepSeek's use of its models. Let's open it. And yep, this one was posted today. You can also send a voice message to our AI agent. I will show you 2 ways to generate a voice for our agents, so you'll have plenty of voices to choose from. You can even generate or clone your own voice or someone else's. You can also provide our agent with a custom knowledge base, like contact details, frequently asked questions, training materials, product lists. In this setup, we have contact details. So we store it in Google Sheets, in Google Drive, but you can use any storage, like any storage format, like PDFs, docs, etc. We can also implement persistent memory. n8n is the best no-code platform for building AI agents and automation. I have more n8n tutorials on my channel to teach you how to build powerful AI agents, even if you are a complete beginner. You don't need to be a programmer and anyone can do this. So sign up using the link in the description and let's get started. If you don't have an account, simply click on Get Started. Fill in your full name, email, password, and a unique username. Then click on Try for free. You will land in the n8n dashboard. Click on Open. Now we have to create our workflow from scratch. So start from scratch. Now, if you prefer dark mode, go to Settings in the left menu. Click on these three dots. Settings. Scroll down and switch to dark theme. Hit save. Alright, so this is your canvas. We'll start by renaming the workflow from my workflow to the team of AI agents. And press enter just to confirm it. Next, I strongly recommend changing your time zone so the times are correct for all tasks. So click on these three dots, click on settings and select your time zone. Save it. So our first step is creating the supervisor agent. So let's add our first node. So click on this plus button, type AI agent, click on it, close it for now. So basically nodes represent actions like fetching data, sending emails, or making API calls. So let's rename our AI agent to Supervisor Agent. Quick rename to confirm it. And now we have to set up a trigger which starts the workflow. So usually it's the communication channel you want to communicate with your agent. So every workflow needs a trigger to be activated. And by default, we have this chat on message. So let's get rid of it. So click on this plus button again. And you can activate the workflow manually on app event, which we'll use in this setup. But you can also run your workflow on a schedule, like every day, every hour, etc. You can use webhook call or on the form submission. So now click on the app event. And now we have to select the platform we want to communicate with. So you can choose WhatsApp, Telegram, Slack, and other platforms. So we'll use Telegram because it's very easy to set up. So click on this Telegram node. I've got a tutorial on how to set up WhatsApp in 6 minutes, so check it out if you prefer WhatsApp. So the trigger we need is on message. So this means the workflow will start when we send a message to our AI agent on Telegram. So click on that. First, we need to set up our Telegram credentials to connect our agent to Telegram. So click on this drop down and select Create New Credential. Now we need to provide the access token, and n8n makes it easy. So you can click on Open Docs if you need help filling out these fields to follow the instructions yourself. So it looks like that. Or just follow along with me. So go back to n8n. First, we need to set up our chatbot in Telegram. Check the video description for the link to this page. Once you are here, click on Start Bot. This will open a conversation with BotFather, which you can access via the Telegram app or website. Both work just fine. Next, click Start in the BotFather chat. This will display all the available actions. What we need is to create a new bot. You can either click the new bot link or simply type a new bot in the chat. Now, give your bot a name. I will call mine Kate. After that, you will need a username for your bot, and it must end with the word bot. I will go with Kate YouTube bot. If the username is already taken, try something else. You will receive an API token. Copy this token and store it in a safe place. It's crucial for connecting Telegram with n8n. Remember, never share your token publicly, as I will delete mine after this video. You can now access your bot by clicking the provided link. Click Start to initiate a conversation. At this point, your bot doesn't do much. We'll set up an n8n connection to handle messages and respond automatically in just a bit. If you'd like to customize your bot, you can even add an avatar. In the BotFather chat, click Edit, then select Edit Bot and upload an image. Now let's paste our API token into the access token field. Click on Save, and you should see a green tested successfully message. Yeah, credential successfully created. Right now, if we send a message on Telegram, nothing will happen. That's because n8n is not listening for events yet, and our workflow is not activated. So let's close it. And at this point, we will not get answer from our agent because it's not connected to a large language model, which essentially acts as the agent's brain. So to add a brain to our agent, click on this plus button. And here are all the available options. We can integrate all of OpenAI's models, like GPT-4o, GPT-4o mini, etc. We can use Claude 3.5 Sonnet by using this node. We can use Grok, but as you can see, there is no dedicated DeepSeek chat model node here, but there are a couple of ways around that. The first is to use their paid cloud service, which is very fast and affordable. This allows us to interact with their models via API calls. Just to let you know, at the time of recording this tutorial, their API platform is currently down. This could be due to a cyber attack or just high traffic, but it should be back up soon. Luckily, I recorded a video a few days ago on how to generate API keys directly on their website, so I'm going to play it later. Also, after the first method, I will show you a temporary solution using OpenRouter. But note that there is more latency with OpenRouter. It can sometimes take a while to respond, and it costs more compared to the direct API. Now, if you check out the DeepSeek API documentation, you will note that DeepSeek uses OpenAI's SDK as a wrapper for interacting with their models. So the OpenAI SDK is just being used to normalize how we send and receive messages to and from the DeepSeek models. So in n8n, we can use the OpenAI chat model node for this. So search for OpenAI, which is the last one. Now we need to change the base URL. So click on Add option, base URL. Now to get that URL, head to the DeepSeek documentation and grab the one that ends in v1. So that's the base URL we'll need. So copy it and paste into n8n. We'll need to enter the API key once their service platform is up and running again. So when their API service platform is back, click on this drop-down, create new credential, and now let's get the API key. Now I'm going to play a video I recorded a few days ago. Go to the deepseek.com. Create an account, sign in, and go to API platform. This will bring you to the API settings, and here you can see your usage details. I just added 2 bucks for testing, and it will go a long way. You will be able to process millions of tokens. You can top up your account using PayPal or debit or credit card. We need to create a new API key, so go to this section. Create new API key. Name it and copy it somewhere secure. You will need it for authentication. Simply add your API key you just copied to n8n, click Save, and if everything is configured correctly, you will see a success message. Keep in mind that DeepSeek doesn't automatically list all the models, unlike OpenAI, so this is common with some services. So to work around this, we'll manually enter the model name by clicking on expression. Now go back to DeepSeek API documentation. The DeepSeek chat model is called DeepSeek chat, and the reasoning model is DeepSeek Reasoner. So let's copy the model name and paste it into n8n. Now it should work perfectly fine. By default, this points to OpenAI, but we will redirect it to DeepSeek using the base URL. Next, go to OpenRouter and create an account. Once login, look for the DeepSeek v3. And you will need the base URL, so click on API. And copy this base URL. Go back to n8n. And paste it here. Next, we need to replace the model name with DeepSeek specific identifier. So copy the model name from OpenRouter. DeepSeek /DeepSeek -chat. Switch to expression and paste it here. Now we have to set up credentials. So go back to OpenRouter. Create API key. Create key. Give it a name. Create. Copy your new key. Go back to n8n and paste it here. Now save. Don't worry about this message, it's just a bug, everything will work fine. Now you can test the chat model. So click on the chat. You can ask it anything really. I asked it to write me a LinkedIn post about AI agents for small businesses in 2025. And as you can see, it's pretty good. If for any reason you want to use OpenAI's models, this is how to set up credentials. So now we need to connect our AI agent to one of the OpenAI's powerful models. So to do this, you will need to set up credentials. So click this little pen. As you can see, we need API key to set up a connection. So head over to openai.com/API. Create an account and log in. When you first create an OpenAI account, you receive $5 of free credits, valid for 3 months. Now click on Settings. Under the Usage section, you can see how many tokens you have used and how much you have left. This helps you keep track of your usage. Now navigate to API Keys section on the left-hand side and click on Create New Secret Key. Give it a name, for example, n8n demo. Select project, can be default project, and hit Create Secret Key. Now copy your API key. Now back in n8n, click on this dropdown, create new credential, and paste it right here. Save. Yeah, that's great. Now we are successfully connected. Let's close it. Here you can choose the model you would like to use as a brain for your AI agent. For this tutorial, we'll be using GPT-4o Mini because it's very fast and cost-effective. And I prepared a well-detailed prompts to guide it, so it's good enough. But you can choose the other models like GPT-4o. Now let's go back to the canvas. Now let's move this trigger node to the left side. Connect it to our supervisor agent. And now we need to add a memory node, as you can see. So click on this plus button and choose window buffer memory. So we need to retrieve this session ID because the memory node allows the agent to remember past messages from our conversation. So change the session ID to define below. Close it for now. Click on test workflow and send any message on Telegram. I'm just gonna say hi. Now open this node again. And you can get a conversation ID from a trigger node by going to mapping. Just grab this ID and drop it over here. So now the context window length says how many past messages to include. So for example, let's say we want our agent to remember 10 previous messages. Let's close it for now. Let's hit save. Let's workflow again. Send message. Anything. Now we got another error. So let's open our agent. And as you can see, there is no prompt specified. So we need to set up the prompt to give instructions for our agent what to do and how to behave. Now under prompt, click drop down, select define below, and what you can do, we can just drag the message we received from Telegram and drop it over here. So this is our message we sent on Telegram. Now under options, add a new option and select system message. Switch to expression, then expand the view. So the simplest way to structure the prompt is to assign the role, objective, and provide additional information. So I'm just gonna paste the prompt. So it can be as simple as you are a professional assistant. Your primary goal is to manage contacts, email, and calendar events and perform research tasks for the user. And now additional information. So you have access to free sub-agents to help you, email agent, calendar agent, and research agent. So I will provide you with a template so you can just copy and paste it. So make sure to do this before using your team of AI agents, as I have added some commands to avoid errors, because an optimized prompt is crucial for building effective AI agents. Alright, so let's test our agent again. Click test workflow and send a simple message on Telegram. Great. So this time we successfully received a response. When you open this now again, you can see the output is, "Hello, how can I assist you today?" Just need to send this message back to Telegram. So back in the canvas, add a new note and search for Telegram. Scroll through the options and select send a text message. Which is right here. Next, choose the credentials. You set up area. Then we have to grab the chat ID from the Telegram trigger. We just expand it and drag and drop ID over here to chat ID field. Now for the text field, we need to assign the AI agent's output. So drag and drop output over here. So let's run a test and have a look. Yes, that's great. So we just received a message from our AI agent, but we got some extra text, which is redundant. So let's fix it. Click on Add Field. Append n8n attribution. And switch it off. Let's back to our canvas. And now we can explore how to handle audio messages. First, run a test workflow. Switch to Telegram. And really press and hold the record button. Say something. And then release to send it. Now back in our workflow. We got an error. And when we check the trigger node and the schema and scroll down, it looks different this time, because instead of text, we now have a voice note that contains a file ID. This means we need to handle messages differently based on their type. So to do this, we'll insert a switch node between the Telegram trigger node and the AI agent node. So go back to canvas. Let's close this error message. Zoom out a bit and let's search for switch node. Now let's remove this connection and move it over here. So the switch node allows us to create separate processing paths. Connect the Telegram trigger node to the switch node. Let's open the switch node. And for the first condition, we will check if the message contains a file ID inside the voice object. So scroll down. Let's find our file ID within the voice object. Grab it and drop over here. We assign this to the value field. Then select string and exist. It simply means if a voice file ID is detected, we'll route the workflow through the audio processing path. So to keep it organized, let's just rename it to audio. And let's close it. And now we can see the audio label. Since we also need to handle text messages, let's make that adjustment. So I'm gonna run test workflow again and send a basic text message. And now when we open the switch node, it appears red because the expected field is not present. So instead we have a text property from the Telegram trigger. So to fix this, we have to add a new route. So add a new routing rule. Use text field as the value. Again, string exist. And let's rename it to text. Let's close it. And now our switch node has two different routes, one for audio and one for text. So the text message comes in, it will be directed to the AI agent for processing when we connect these two nodes. But if we receive an audio message, we need to handle it differently. So first let's add a new node and send another audio file into the flow. And now we can see the audio message triggered the audio route. Let's go back to our canvas. And now we have to download our voice message. So again, click on add node, search for Telegram, select the get file. Now pass the file ID from the voice object into this field. And let's test this node. Yeah, the file is successfully downloaded. So I will rename this node to download a file. Confirm it. And hit save. The next step is to transcribe the audio to text. So click add node, search for OpenAI, scroll down, transcribe a recording. This is the action we want to achieve. We don't need to change anything in this node. So run a test. Great. Now that we have the transcribed text, we need to make sure our agent processes it correctly. Now let's make it more organized. I'm gonna move it here. And we can connect the transcribed text to our AI agent. Now when we open the Supervisor AI agent node, there is a small issue we need to fix, because when we receive a regular text message from Telegram, it comes inside an object called message, which contains a text field. However, when we got a transcription from an audio message, so let's expand it, the text is stored directly in the field called text without being wrapped in a message object. Now when we open the Supervisor AI agent node, there is a small issue we need to fix, because when we receive a standard text message from Telegram, it comes inside an object called message, which contains a text field. However, when we got a transcription from an audio message, so let's expand it. The text is stored directly in a field called text without being wrapped in a message object. We can quickly fix it and simplify the text format before sending it to the AI agent. So go back to Canvas. Now we have to add a set node right after the switch node. So click on this small plus button, search for set node, click add field and name it text. Let's scroll down. Let's grab text and assign it to the value called text. Now let's go back to our canvas. And if the text comes from Telegram, it will extract text from the message object. And if it comes from the transcription, it will use the text directly. So let's connect this node to our AI agent. And our AI agent will always receive a standardized text field, no matter where the input comes from. So I will rename this node to set text. Confirm. Now, if we send a voice message, we might want the AI agent to reply with the voice too, not just text. So what we can do is add a new node between our agent and the Telegram response node. So just by clicking on this plus button, let's search for if node. What we will do here is add an if condition. So what we want to say is, let's go to our Telegram trigger node and we want to check if the voice ID exists. So let's grab this file ID and drop over here. If you can see this voice object, that means you need to add some data to the flow. So just simply test a workflow and send a voice message on Telegram. So now we want to click on drop down select string and exist. So basically, now we have two branches, true and false. So if true, we want to respond with audio. So we have to remove this connection. And if false, we will simply return text. So we have to connect these two nodes. And now we want to generate audio instead. So let's click on Add Nodes. Search for OpenAI. Go to Audio Actions and generate audio. Select your credentials. And here you can select a voice. So I go with echo. And you can leave this node as it is. So now we have a setup and two conditions. If the file ID exists, so the condition is true, generate an audio. If doesn't exist, return a text message. Now let's rename this node to generate audio. Let's test our workflow. I'm just gonna send a short voice message on Telegram. Hi, how are you doing? So we should get a response in a sec. Yes, we got an error, which was expected. Let's open this node. Now we got some data in the flow, so we can expand our Supervisor Agent node and grab this output property and drop it here. Let's test our workflow again. Just before that, I've got a great trick for you. In every trigger node, doesn't matter if it's a Telegram, WhatsApp, or any other platform, there is an option to pin data. So there is a pin icon in the top right corner. So when you click on it, you'll pin data within your workflow, and you can simply unpin it. So it means that the message, voice message or text message you sent earlier will be saved in this node. So you don't need to send it over and over again. Now you just need to click on test workflow and it will use the previous message. Great, so now we generated the AI's voice response. So we need to send it back to Telegram. So add a Telegram node. Scroll down. And we are looking for send an audio file. Which is right here. Now switch to the schema. And we need to select the chat ID from the Telegram trigger node. So expand it. Grab this chat ID and move over here. Also, we need to enable binary file, so it knows to send the audio instead of text. Okay, that's it. And now let's test it out. I'm just gonna click on test workflow. Great, I just received an audio file. Let's listen to it.
I'm here and ready to assist you. How can I help you today?
Alright, great. Now let's check if our AI agent will respond to text message properly. So I'm just gonna unpin data, test workflow, and send short text message on Telegram. I'm just gonna say, hi, can you assist me please? Great, now we have received a text response back through this branch. So let's have a look. Absolutely, how can I assist you today? Please let me know what you need help with. Alright, great. Now what I like to do, I like to summarize the message before generating the voice. So this makes the AI voice message more to the point and also reduces token cost. And obviously we don't want to listen to long messages. So what we are going to do now is we're going to grab an OpenAI message model. So let's search for OpenAI. Just between the if and generate audio nodes. So let's click on this plus button. Search for OpenAI. And under text actions, select message model. Connect your credentials. And select the large language model you want to use. So I want to use GPT-4o Mini. Now we want to get some data into this node. So I'm just gonna test the workflow. Send a short voice message on Telegram. Hi, can you help me please? Alright. So now we want to give a prompt to our model. So let's ask it to summarize the message. So I'm gonna to provide you with the prompt. So I'm going to copy and paste it now. There you go. I want this model to summarize this incoming information. So the message from the previous node. So I'm going to expand it to show you how it looks like. So summarize this incoming information, which is in this format. It's basically our previous message. For the calendar events provides only the name of the event and time. For email provides just title of the email and summary of the body, no time. And output only plain text. There should be no markdown formatting or any symbols. So let's close it. We want the summary in plain text. So we'll make sure there are no symbols or special characters because the AI generated voice will read everything. That's it. Let's test it out. Just going to in data again and test the workflow. Let's listen to the response.
Of course, I'm here to help. Please let me know what you need assistance with.
Perfect. So now your agent responds with voice 2, and if the voice is too long, it will be summarized before sending back to you. What if you want a different voice because you don't like any of the OpenAI's options? So there is a solution for that. Also, if you want to clone your own voice or someone else's voice, you can use voices from 11 Labs, which is the best AI voice generation platform. So this is optional, but I'm going to show you how to set this up. Alright, so now that we have our summarized text, we are going to send it to 11 Labs to generate the actual voice file instead of sending it to OpenAI voice models. So let's remove this connection. And this one too. We want to feed this summarized text into post requests, and we'll generate audio file using a voice from 11 Labs platform. We need to set up the HTTP request in order to use a post request to send our text to 11 Labs. So let's search for HTTP request node. Now we need to change the method from get to post. And we need a URL, some headers and JSON body. Now go to 11 Labs. You can find a link in the description. Sign up, create an account. Now when I was testing this, I ran into some credential errors on the free plan. So I recommend you to upgrade to the starter plan for $5 a month, which gives you 40,000 credits. That should last quite a while, unless you are generating really long voice files. In 11 Labs, go to the text-to-speech section, so create speech. And now you can copy and paste values from this code snippet. So first we need this URL, so let's copy it. Go back to n8n and paste it right here. Alright, now we need some headers, so enable send headers. Go back to the 11 Labs platform. Copy this one of the two headers. Go back to n8n. Paste it as a first name. Now as a value, we need to generate our API keys. So in your 11 Labs account, go to settings, API keys, create API key, give it a name, create. Copy it, go back to n8n and paste it here. Now we need to add the second parameter. So add new one. Go to API documentation. Copy this line. So this is our value. Need that. Alright, so now we need to send a body. So basically JSON file. So enable it. switch to using JSON, switch to expression. Now from the previous node, grab this property, content, and drop over here. And now we need to convert this JSON file into JSON string and clean it up a bit, because it will return some symbols we don't want in our message. So I'm going to provide you with a code snippet. Now I'm going to paste it here. So as you can see, JSON.stringify, so it's going to convert it to JSON string and remove all the special characters. So it should work now. Now let's scroll up, and now in our URL, after text-to-speech / we can paste the ID of the voice we want to use. So let's go back to our 11 Labs account. And in the left menu, click on Voices. On this page, you can choose the voice you like. So you can test, I believe there are over 3000 voices to choose from. So I'm going to pick this one.
Just trust yourself, then you will know how to live.
Now click on View. And right here, in the right bottom corner, you can see an ID. Just copy the ID, go back to n8n. And after the text-to-speech / paste this ID. Now in the Telegram response node, we need to provide a name of the field. So under additional fields, click on add field, select file name, and give it a name, data dot, and it needs to be this format, this file extension. So copy and paste it. Now let's close it. Hit save. I'm going to unpin data in the Telegram trigger node. So simply unpin. Save again. Now let's test it out. So I'm going to send a short voice message on Telegram. Hi, can you please help me write a viral LinkedIn post? Alright, we got a response. Let's listen to it.
To help write a viral LinkedIn post, I need 1. Topic or message to convey 2. Personal experiences or insights to share 3. Target audience 4. Specific call to...
Alright, that sounds good. That's awesome. Our AI agent can already read and listen to our messages and respond with text or audio. But what makes an AI agent powerful is its ability to interact with the world. In other words, connecting with external systems, apps, and data sources. So this means it can, for example, read and reply to emails, manage calendar, search the web for real-time information, update spreadsheets or databases, fetch and process customer requests. So you could implement these functionalities by adding tools. So simply by clicking on this plus button, as n8n has direct integrations with many platforms, such as Google Apps, CRMs, Wikipedia. Then set up credentials, specify in the prompt how to use these tools. In general, there are over 1,000 apps and services you can connect to. And if there is not a direct integration for what we are looking for, you can always connect via HTTP requests and API calls. In agentic workflows, it's not recommended to give your AI agent too many tools because the agent might struggle to decide which tool to use. More tools mean more chances for conflicts and failures. Managing multiple tools in a single agent can slow down responses. So instead, it's better to build separate sub-agents, each responsible for a specific task. Like in this setup we will create. Email agent handles emails and responses. Calendar agent manages our calendar. And research agent does research for us. So this is a basic example, but what if you wanted your supervisor agent to do more tasks, such as managing social media, making calls on your behalf, or nurturing leads? You would need a swarm of AI agents, which, by the way, can have their own sub-agents and tools, and this is what we call a multi-agent system. Think of it like a multi-layered organization. So at the top you have an executive AI agent overseeing everything. Below that, directors who handle major responsibilities, and each director has manager AI agent who coordinates tasks. They have supervisors, and finally employees AI agents to execute specific actions, and each employee has access to tools. So instead of overloading one AI agent with too many tools, the best practice is to build a network of specialized agents that communicate and work together. Each agent focuses on a specific task, making the system more efficient, scalable, and reliable. By the way, I'm currently working on a system with over 20 AI agents in n8n, so stay tuned. Now, the only tool we want to add in this setup is a contact database, so our agent can access email addresses, phone numbers, calendar events, etc. For example, I've got a spreadsheet with one person's contact details for this demo. For simplicity, we'll use Google Sheets, but you could also use CRMs like Airtable for structured data, or Pinecone, a vector database for large contact repositories. So click on Add Tool, search for Google Sheets, select Google Sheets tool, now you need to connect to your Google account. So I recorded a separate tutorial on how to set up credentials so you can access all Google apps in n8n, including Google Drive, Gmail, Docs, and Sheets. So you only need to go through this process once. So I will play it now. Click on the Create New Credentials. So you see that n8n requires a client ID and client secret to connect to your Google account. So this means we need to set up credentials in Google Cloud Console, which is what we will do next. Now we are gonna open Docs, because we need to set up our Google Cloud account. Scroll down, and right here under Prerequisites, Click on Google Cloud. Now we have to go to our console. So click on console. Now we have to create our project. So let's do it from scratch. Click on new project. Let's name it n8n demo. Click on create. So Google Cloud will create our project. So this project is where we will set up permissions for n8n to interact with your Google services. So now that the project is created, let's open it. In the left menu, go to API services and on off consent screen, choose external, click create, name it something recognizable like n8n Google integration. You need to provide support email. Scroll down. Provide your developer email address. Click save and continue. Skip the scopes and hit save and continue. Under test users, add your email address as a test user and hit save. Now we need to provide authorized redirect URL. So go back to n8n, copy this URL, add URL, paste it here, and click create. Now Google generated a client ID and client secret. So copy the client ID, go back to n8n, paste it here, copy client secret, and paste it here. Click sign in with Google. A Google login screen will appear. Select the account you added as a test user area. And grant n8n the necessary permissions, like access to Google Drive or Gmail. Click continue. And continue. So once authorized, n8n will show a green status indicator and confirming the connections was successful. So now we are connected. Even though the credentials are connected, we are not done yet. We need to enable the APIs for the Google services we plan to use. So go back to Google Cloud. Go to Enabled APIs and Services. Search for the API you need, like Google Drive API, and click Enable. And repeat this step for other APIs, like Gmail API, Google Docs API, or Google Sheets, depending on your workflow requirements. Once enabled, these APIs will allow n8n to communicate with Google services. And that's it. You have successfully set up Google credentials in n8n, giving you full access to Google services for your workflows. Once you set up your credentials and connected to Google account, let's move on. We don't need to change anything within this field. As a resource, we want to retrieve sheet within document. As an operation, let's leave get rows. And now we can choose specific document we want to retrieve from our Google Sheets. So from the list, let's choose, and now we can choose the specific sheet. Leave it as it is. Let's close it. And now let's hit save. And let's test our workflow. Retrieve the email address of Mark Johnson. So I'm going to send a voice message. So we should receive a voice message from our agent. Let's listen to it.
I found a contact named Mark Johnson with the email n8ndemos@gmail.com, but I couldn't locate specific information for Mark Johnson. Let me know if you need help with anything else.
Alright, great. Now our AI agent is able to pull rows of contact information from this sheet. So to keep things organized, I will rename this tool to contact database. The foundation is now set up, so let's continue by adding the sub-agents. So now we have to create a completely new workflow and make calls. So let's open a new tab and go back to the n8n home screen. Make sure to save it. Click that workflow. And name it to email agent. Press enter. So this will act as a dedicated sub-agent to handle email-related tasks. So add a trigger node set to when called by another workflow. This means our personal assistant will call this agent when we ask, for example, can you send an email or can you check my emails? So let's close it. Now add an AI agent node. We don't need this trigger, so let's remove it. Let's add chat model. I'm going to use OpenAI GPT-4o Mini. So no memory is needed for this agent. Now we need to add tools. Perfect. Now we need to add tools to our email agent. So each tool represents a specific task we want our agent to handle. So in this example, we want it to perform two main actions: write and send emails and fetch emails from your inbox. So let's search for Gmail. In Gmail, we have a ton of different actions we can take. We are gonna keep this agent simple, but very useful functionalities. So what it can do, so sending and retrieving emails. Let's rename this tool to send email to make it clear what it does. So we want this tool to set automatically. As a resource, we want to have a message. We want to send an email, but we need to configure these fields. So we are going to use this cool expression. So we will use the from AI function. This helps the AI extract details from a user's request and map them into fields automatically. So it's really cool. So basically, this expression helps LLM interpret an incoming query. So I'm planning to make a separate tutorial on explaining this in detail, because this is the best way to give your AI agents tools in n8n. For now, let's keep it simple. So let's copy this expression, including curly braces, and paste it to this field. Then in the field, switch over to expression. Now we need to change the placeholder. So name it email address. You can also add a description, but it's optional. So it helps guide the LLM in figuring out how to retrieve the information and in what format. So you can add comma. And say something like the recipient's email address. We do the same thing with other fields. Now the next field, so our subject. So let's do the same thing. Don't forget to switch over to expression. Also, we need to change the email type to text. And for message, expression, let's say email body. Also, we need to add option, append n8n distribution, turn it off, and add sender name. This just tells Gmail who the email is from, but it won't actually sign off the message. We need to do it in our prompt. So I will put my name here since it's my personal assistant. I will show you in a bit. Now we can test our workflow. So let's see if the agent can send an email like it's supposed to. So since our supervisor agent will be the one calling this agent, we'll create a sample request to simulate that. So in the execute workload trigger, we need to give a query to our agent. So when tasked to send an email. So for example, I might say, can you send an email to Damien at n8ndemos@gmail.com to check how he's doing. Now let's save it. Pin your data. Save it. And let's test the workflow. Well, there is no problem specified, so now let's fix it. Oh yeah, we have to define below. We don't want to take data from the previous node automatically. We want to define it below. We just simply grab this query and drop it here. Save, and let's test it again. Now let's check my inbox. Great, so I hope this message finds you well. Perfect, so now our agent is able to send messages. Just a quick tip, to get an authorization error, our Gmail credentials might have expired. So just refresh the connection and try again. So the credentials seem to expire every few days, meaning you just have to sign in again. But if you publish your app, you should be good to go without having to refresh it all the time. Now, after successful execution, when you check this tool, you can see the actual message. So the email I got, and the email subject and email address. Going back to the email I got, the LLM grabbed the recipient, which was Damien. But since we didn't specify a sender name, it signed off as your name by default. If you actually want it to sign off properly, we need to prompt the Supervisor Agent. So a quick way to do this is just by going to the Supervisor Agent. In the system message, we can say something like, when sending emails through Gmail, always sign off with Damien and never use placeholders. So this makes sure every email has the correct sign off. Great, so our AI agent knows how to send emails. Now we need to add another tool to fetch emails from our inbox. So let's go back to our email agent. Now we want our agent to retrieve emails from our inbox. So you can simply use the same tool as before. But now you have to configure it differently. So you can really expand on this agent and give it tons of different actions, like adding labels, deleting messages, marking emails as unread. You could essentially build a tool for all these functions. So for now, let's just focus on retrieving emails. So we need to select get many. So first we need to set a limit on how many emails we are pulling in. So for now, let's say 5. We also need to define some filters, like who the emails are coming from. So we'll set the sender field. As you can see, there are multiple ways to filter, by date, by status, etc. For example, if you only wanted to get emails from the past 5 days, you could configure it by setting received after and received before filters. For now, let's keep it simple and use just send filter. You can also use from AI expression to set a limit and specify the sender. So let's use from AI as our sender. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this expression again. And paste it right here. As a placeholder, you can enter send the email. And for the limit, we have to switch over to expression and paste it right here. And we can say something like limit great. And now one important thing, we don't want to simplify the results. If this setting is on, it returns a simplified version of the email data instead of the full content. So in some cases that might be fine, but if you are dealing with long emails and want all the details, you will want to turn this off. Alright, so now at this point, this email agent can send and retrieve emails. So what we want to do here is we want this email agent to respond back to our supervisor agent. So we need to add another node, set node, and simply just name it as a response. And grab this output and put here in this field as the value. Our email agent is ready to go. Just need to unpin data. And we can connect it to our supervisor agent. So let's go back to our main workflow. Now back in our main workflow, we are going to add a new tool. And for this, we'll choose call another workflow node. So simply click on add tool button. We need to choose this option because we want to trigger a different workflow. So our email agent. We will name this one email agent. Now as a description, we can say something like call this tool to take action in email. Now we need to configure this node and set up which workflow this tool should connect to. So you can select the workflow either from a list or by ID, but picking from the list is the easiest. If you can see the workflow which consists your email agent, just simply save and refresh. So we called our email agent workflow email agent. So let's search for it. Now field to return. This is where we previously set up the response field. So when the supervisor agent sends a request to the email agent, it's going to look for a field named response. That's why in the email agent workflow, I'm going to show you. That's why in this agent, we added a set node named the field response and assign it to the actual email data. So the supervisor agent knows exactly where to look for the response. Now we are going to create our calendar sub-agent, and I will move a bit quicker with this since the process is pretty much the same as what we did with the email agent. So the first thing we need to do, we have to create a completely new workflow. So let's go back to the home page. So let's trigger this workflow when called by another workflow. So when called by another workflow, we'll add the agent. So let's search for a agent. Now as the chat model, so our agent's brain, since GPT-4o Mini work well for the email agent, we'll stick with it again. We can remove this when chat message received trigger node. Add chat model. Select OpenAI chat model. We don't need memory for this agent, so we will leave that off. Now we can start adding the tools. This is our calendar agent, so we want to create and get events from our calendar, right? So search for Google Calendar. So our account is already connected, so we are good to go. If you are using the cloud service, you might not need to enter the client ID and secret to set up credentials. But for the rest of us, we already done the hard part. So the first tool we are going to add is to create an event. So let's rename it. We'll connect it to our calendar, and now we just need to configure a few details. Leave resource as an event. We want to create an email. Select your email address from the list. Now we have to specify the start time and end time, and any additional properties like attendees. We'll also add a summary, which is basically the event's title, so the text that shows up on the calendar. So let's do it one by one. We will pull the start time using from AI expression once again to let the large language model to do it automatically. So copy this from AI expression from opening curly braces all the way to the closing curly braces. Remember to switch to the expression and paste it right here. Change the placeholder name to start time. You can add the description if you want. So it's the time the user ask for the event to start. Great. Now we have to do exactly the same thing for the end time. So let's just copy and paste it. Now let's change the placeholder name to end time. And the description. That's great. Now we have to add summary. For the summary, we will also pull that from AI expression. So let's copy it and just change the placeholder and the description. So let's say simply name. And it's the name of the calendar event. Great. Next, we'll add a sample query in the execute workflow trigger node, so we can play around with the data. Let's say we ask the calendar agent to set up an event at 3 p.m. for a meeting. So here we have to provide the prompt. Set up an event at 3 p.m. for a meeting. Great. Now let's save it. The data is pinned. In this case, we are just blocking out time in our supervisor agent, but since we didn't specify an end time in the query, so how long is the meeting for, later we modified the agent's prompt to assume the event lasts for 30 minutes or an hour after the start time of the meeting in our supervisor agent's prompt. Now let's save the workflow and test it. Yes, we got an error because we didn't specify the prompt. So let's do it now. So define below and simply drag and drop the query property. Now we will update the agent's prompt to include the current date and time, so it knows when to create events. Because while these agents are pretty good at figuring out which tools to call, adding system prompts like this can make a big difference, especially depending on the model you are using. So let's do it now. Click on Add option, add system message, and we'll keep the prompt short and to the point since it's just a calendar agent. You are a calendar assistant with access to various tools to manage calendar tasks. The current date and time is... I forgot to switch over to the expression mode. So thanks to this, agent is able to figure out what the current date and time is. So create event, create events with attendee, and also get events. Okay, now let's test it. Hit save. And test workflow. Great. Now let's look at the execution. As you can see, it's working perfectly fine. Now let's add another tool to create events with attendees. We are doing this in a separate tool because adding attendees requires extra configuration. We need to add additional fields. If you left it all in one tool, it could cause issues. If there is no attendee, it might return an error when trying to create the event. So let's make it easy. So we need just to copy our create events node. And paste it here. Let's rename it to event with attendee. So everything is exactly the same. We just need to specify attendee. So scroll down, add field, attendees. Let's use our awesome expression. So the placeholder is attendee email, and the description is the email of the user asks the event to be scheduled with. Now that we've got event creation working, let's add one more tool to get events from the calendar. So this will allow the agent to retrieve events based on specific dates. Let's rename this agent to calendar agent. And also our workflow to calendar agent. And hit save. And this node to create event. Let's search for Google Calendar again. This time we want to retrieve emails from our inbox. So change operation to get many. Select your email address. We want all the emails to be returned, so enable this. We want to get events from one day before the requested date. So add option, select after, switch to expression. We'll use from AI expression again. As a placeholder we have start date, and as the description the day before the requested date. We have to do the same for before field. But this time we want to get events up to 1 day after the requested date. So switch over to expression mode. End date as a placeholder and as a description the day after the requested date. This helps us retrieve events dynamically based on the user's input, instead of just pulling events from a fixed date like today. Finally, we need to ensure that the calendar agent sends responses back to the supervisor agent. Let's rename it to get events. We will add a set node as in the previous example in the email agent. So search for set node. We need to add a response field. So the name is response again. Grab the output, drop over here. Great job. Now let's connect this calendar agent to our supervisor agent. So hit save. Adding a tool. Select call n8n workflow tool. Rename it to calendar agent. We need to provide a description, so call this tool to manage the calendar. Great stuff. Now we are going to connect the calendar agent workflow we just created. We have to refresh this workflow because we didn't refresh it since we have created our calendar agent. So hit save. Now our calendar agent appears in the list. So select it. And the response field will handle sending data back to the supervisor agent. Great. Let's save it. Great. Now we are setting up a research agent that can answer questions by searching the internet, checking articles, and using sources like Wikipedia and SEP API. It's a lot easier to set up this agent than the email and calendar agents, but still very useful. So the goal here is to show you how you can assign different tools to your agents, making them more flexible and reusable across multiple workflows. So it's exactly the same process. We need to create completely new workflow. So let's go back to our homepage. At first step. So we want to trigger this workflow when it's called by another workflow. Add AI agent. Remove this trigger. Choose your large language model as a chat model. We'll do the same. GPT-4o mini. We don't need a memory. Then we will add tools, starting with Wikipedia. So add tool. Search for Wikipedia. Let's add the prompt to our agent. So add option, system message. The system message I have prepared is you are a research assistant with access to Wikipedia and SERP API. First, search Wikipedia, and if you don't find the answer, use SERP API. So this setup is efficient because it uses resources first and only calls SERP API when needed, saving API credits. SERP API offers a free plan that includes 100 searches per month. So basically you can use this research agent 100 times per month. In order to connect SERP API, add tool, search for SERP API. Now we have to connect credentials. So go to serpapi.com, create an account, go to API key, create your API key, copy it, and paste it into n8n. So you need to create new credential and paste it right here. Then click save, and it should show as successful. Then save workflow. Alright, now let's connect this agent to our supervisor agent. First, let's rename it to research agent. And also our sub agent to make it clear. Great. Save it. Let's go back to our main workflow. Let's move this tool down. Add new tool. Call n8n workflow tool. Rename it to research agent. So we'll call this tool to search the internet and answer the user's questions. So simply call tool to search the internet and answer the user's questions. Just select the research agent from the list. And that's it. Hit save. Congratulations! You just built your team of AI agents, and you have learned how to create sub-agents like the email agent, calendar agent, and the research agent, all working together under the supervision of the main supervisor agent. You can easily add more sub-agents to handle new tasks, and if you want your agents to remember things over time, you can connect a vector database to give them persistent memory. So great job! I really appreciate you sticking with me through this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to teach you how to build more powerful AI agents. I hope you find it helpful. See you in the next one. Bye bye.